Up and welcome back to the SuperCoach Experience podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Savage, the coach of the Savage Turbos. I'm joined by the 2021 champion, Timmy Moody, the coach of
the Villy Army. Yeah.
That's a solid start. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Very assertive. You're not going to go with the Blue Eyes Legends?
Romy's homies.
Romy's homies. You're not
That's
going
right.
with Welch's Warriors?
Brendan. I was trying to get your name wrong and I got it right. Yeah. No. I've just thought about it. Just going to stick with it. It's my thing. Just going to do it.
You know what? I was going to go with the Canoe Crew, and I thought, it's definitely a solid thing. It's definitely, my thing I made, but the Canoe Crew is actually going to be our Patreon consensus side.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a consensus side for all the Patreon members. We're going to vote on a full team, and that's going to be the Canoe Crew side. Savage Turbo stays as is.
I thought that was just some incredible marketing on your end for your own SuperCoach side. I realised that you'd named the chat groups and the other stuff, the Canoe Crew, and then I thought, now he's naming his SuperCoach side that. He's basically just building a following for his SuperCoach team. It's great marketing. They need to get you at one of the NRL clubs for that sort of stuff.
Well, I'm not that smart, but thank you for giving me the credit that I probably don't deserve. But this show is brought to you by PickleBet. Head over to picklebet.com.au. Use the code TURBO when signing up. The Big Bash semi-finals start tonight, and I think I said it last week. I think the Thunder are going to get through. I just don't love the look of the Stars. The Barts, the Hobart Hurricanes are on top of the ladder, and then you've obviously got the Sydney Sixers who probably will get there. But I don't know. I feel like it's Sydney Thunder's year. Ryan Hadley signed with the club and has been a professional net bowler. So head over to picklebet.com.au, have a punt, use the code TURBO, but make sure to know what you're really gambling with. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. I nearly went that whole thing without messing it up. But we started. Today is the Second Row Forward Positional Analysis podcast. On the back of the Front Row Forward podcast last week, killed it. Good episode. We were rattled. We thought we walked out of the studio thinking this was a shit episode. I listened back. A lot of good feedback. So our
feedback from Logan Geyer. Shout out to him.
Yeah, Logan Geyer. I listened to it yesterday, but I think that goes down to our preparation. You prepare to fail. You fail to prepare. You prepare to fail. So our preparation has been top notch. And over at the Patreon, you can find all the notes for the upcoming podcast. So today is the Second Row Forward podcast. SuperCoach NRL has opened today as well. So
it's official.
So leagues are starting to go around, and there's a lot of buzz about SuperCoach at the moment, and a lot of the
plebs are starting to make their sides. Sorry, plebs.
No, the plebs are bloody half of our listeners. Oh, I shouldn't say
it's
that.
basically just people who've paid the $29 for SuperCoach Gold and not played SuperCoach Gold. There's no real difference between the people.
No, the people who listen to our podcasts are really deep into preseason.
Fun fact, I was a pleb during 2021 when I won. Remember, halfway through the season, I didn't even have SuperCoach Gold.
Yep.
And so I was trying to find the BEs and stuff online. Do you know whoever just posts those BEs with teams? And then someone's like, you need to get SuperCoach Gold. It's kind of open things up. Shout out to SuperCoach Gold. If you don't have it, get it because it's so much more useful.
It's such a useful tool. I guess if you're pretty decisive in your decisions, you could probably take it or leave it. But, I am pretty decisive, but I just like to, go digging in there, just find some things.
Yeah.
So shout out to SuperCoach Gold. They're doing great things over there. So let's start off with the Second Row Forward podcast. For 500K plus second rowers, there are 48 second rowers who are 500K plus. I nearly went through all of them. I nearly could have found something for all of them. So let's start off with Angus Crichton, 758,700. He's got a draw of the Brisbane Broncos, Penrith Panthers, Warriors, Gold Coast Souths, Brisbane in the first six. Angus Crichton, resurgent year last year, came back from pretty much
health issues,
bottom dollar pretty much, and it looks like he's turned around completely, and he's an absolute gun. I've actually rated him at probably the sixth best second row forward to start the year with SuperCoach, maybe seventh, just based on guns. I did that in a collaboration post that will come later in the week with SuperCoach Late Mail, who's a new guy. Came 11th last year. He's trying to put his profile out there. Tandy, yeah. He's a real legend.
He's a cool dude, isn't he?
We're doing our top.
He's got a good personality. He was on the SC Playbook last year, and I really liked his confidence.
Yeah, I liked his confidence too.
I
think I ranked Angus Crichton about 6th. And the reason I've got that, it's just the Roosters. No Luke Keary, concerns me, and the impact of what Jared Warrior-Hargraves leaving the club. Where's their go forward? Luke Keary was the guy who squared up the defence, put Angus Crichton through holds. I guess think of Hudson Young. Like, he's not really a Supercoach relevant back row most of the time, but there are big games he has. Because of his talent, he'll get that big game, but it's just not as consistent. I feel like that's going to be what Angus Crichton is in a side who is inexperienced.
Yeah, he did show beast mode qualities last year, where I think he will sort of try have a big impact, and the runs that he does have will still be of high quality. But maybe you're right, like just in manipulating the defence or whatever, and having him hit a hole won't be as easy, perhaps, with the space that they create or whatever. But yeah, I've just sort of noted that like he had 11 tries last year, which was a season high for him. And also his base was down last year compared to other seasons. It was only 42 last year compared to prior seasons of 55 and 52. So he relied more on his attack last year, and if he does still rely on his attack more this year and it doesn't come, then maybe that value isn't there. So I don't think he's a terrible buy. I think we can all start with probably one good gun, and I don't think you'd go too wrong with him, but I think just the doubt around the halves that they've got there, and they've lost both of their halves, and they've got two new ones basically, sort of, even though Sandon Smith was there last year, yeah. For me, he's not one I'm considering.
He's not one I'm considering, but based off Supercoach, he should be our number one priority. But obviously there are different circumstances that happen. He had 4 tons last year. There were 2 big ones and a score of 99. So the fact that he's got that much consistent high ceiling in him, I think that's what you're looking for. I necessarily don't see it early on, but I guess the fact that Jared's gone, we've got Terrell May gone. As a senior member of that side, are they going to be relying on him?
Let's go forward
for more base stats.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is too, he did actually start really well last year. The first 2 games he played, he was coming off the bench. He was eased back in, but as soon as they put him to 80-minute games, which was only into his round 3, round 4, or whatever. His scores were 83, 79, 52 is the only one.
Yeah.
And then 119, 151 and 99.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll drop off too much, but I think there was quite a fair bit of tries in that too.
When he was getting attacking stats, he was getting bulk attacking stats. So I guess we'll just have to... it depends on how you rate the Roosters, and do you think their roster's still good enough? I think Sandon Smith will give him early ball, won't give him, squared off defence ball. He'll give him early ball, which could be a good thing for him, to be honest. Maybe he could develop his game a little bit. Number 2, Dave Fafita, 749,400. He's injured, so it doesn't look like he'll start the year. He's racing to play round 2, but I'm off him.
I'm off him for the fact that he's got this wrist injury, I think it is, that's holding him ankle. I knew it was something connecting the hand or the foot or something, one of our appendages. So also the buy round 1. Yeah, that's why I'm pretty off him. He started reasonably well last year, but nothing too outlandish as well. Like nothing over like 85. They were no tons early to start the year. It was weird because last year his tries dropped off big time. So 2021 he had 17 tries, which is ridiculous. Then 7 tries a year later, 8 tries the year after that, and only 4 last year. But he hasn't dropped off too much. Like he's 76.5, so he'll still go and look. That was the difference. He'll still go and get him the work. The tries just didn't come for him. But I reckon there's going to be more tries in him this year. It just we'll want to pick him up at some point. I just don't think we start with him.
I think there's a massive factor here, and that the word is Jaden Campbell. Dave Fafita was averaging 85.9 before Jaden Campbell come into that 5'8" role. And he had scored 4 tries, had 2 try assists, and 5 line breaks in 10 games without Jaden Campbell. And he was on track to, open up the second half of the year and go even better. But the second half of the year with Jaden Campbell in the side, he only averaged 67.2, which is nearly 19 points less. He scored 0 tries, had 2 try assists, and only 3 line breaks. So the drop-off there is... And I'm talking about Luke Keary with Angus Crichton at the moment, the fact that he can't square off the defence. Kieran Foran was the guy squaring off the defence, giving it to
Yeah,
Dave
they were
Fafita,
a great
putting him
combo.
in decent space. Luke Keary's very similar for Angus Crichton than what Foz was for Fafita. I want to give Sandon Smith a bit of I want to give him a chance to like potentially be that person. I think Jaden Campbell has showed us that he's probably not that guy to feed Fafita good enough. Fafita can still average elite in Supercoach. 67.2 is nothing to turn your head at. But
wonder how they'll change it to mix the halves up. There's a lot of whisper and stuff of maybe Brimson and Jaden Campbell both in the halves. I wonder if that'd make them swap sides, because I think Brimson's played on the left when he's played 5'8".
He has, yeah.
2. And then, because they were talking about putting Campbell at halfback, so that might put him on the right. Maybe that'd change things up. I don't know if Brimson would be any better at...
I don't know, to be honest. I think Foz is the best guy. Foz has got to play somewhere, to be honest. Like, I don't think Foz doesn't.
Seems like
play
they're probably
6 or
going to
7.
drop him off to more of a fill-in guy from what I'm hearing.
I hate that so much. But
on the way out a bit.
I guess if they're writing themselves off for this year, then it's probably a good way to go. But I think they'll be wanting to make a crack at the finals at least this year. But yeah, Dave Fafita, I think he's a no-go. He's probably... to be honest, he's a big watch, because like if he starts the season and it's like Jaden Campbell's had a full preseason at 5'8", then things could change in the click of fingers.
They said that this is what was missing. You need to work on that, do that, and then So I think, as we said, not one to start with, but keep an eye on him because he will be in our side at some point, I'd say.
By round 1, which is a massive thing for me.
He was a bit of an avoid for a lot of last year. Like, you could go without him, but I don't know. I just feel like he's too relevant that we'll be wanting him at some point.
Number 3, I think this is my number 1 pick for second row this year. That's Isaiah Yeo, 727,000. Honestly, couldn't find much on him because he just had such a consistent year last year. He's an 80-minute middle. I love him. Averages 76 without Cleary. I think just the fact that Luai's leaving the club, I tried to look for something. Luai played all year, every game that Yeo played, so I couldn't really find a sample size without Yeo. And I think, like, if we looked from years past, I think Yeo's gone to another level last year. And I think he really plays that ball-playing role. There's more try-assists involved. There's a rookie 5'8" for the Panthers. I think so he'll take a lot more responsibility. Average 76 without Cleary. And he only had 2 tries and 6 try assists. Look at Eli Katoa, averaged less and had a career year with 12 tries.
Yeah, I really like him as well. I've never had Isaiah Yeo in my side, I don't believe, at any point. And always that guy that you just go, how consistent is he putting out those scores? So he is in my side at the moment. I've sort of said from pretty early on that I wanted someone with that consistency, that base guy that I can rely on, too dependent on chasing upside elsewhere. I wanted to have these guys I can rely on. So average lifted last year, went to 74 points, normally 69, 66. So 69, 66, you're kind of like, he's not 74, starting to be like, wow, let's really consider that. He had only 2 tons last year, and they were both late in the season, so rounds 26 and 27. So that upside's not necessarily there as much. And they were kind of just in games, I think, that exposed defences late. But the thing I love about it is just like the over sort of percentages for this guy. When I look at other ones, there's certain reds and different highlighted colours. It's all like really good. Like 100% of the time he's over 50. 90% of the time he's over 60, which not many have anything like that.
Not many have that. You're happy with over 60 for sure.
And 57% of the time over 70. So... yeah,
and like we're looking at 60% over 60 most of the time.
And there's still decent numbers for like over 80 and over 90. So over 80 points, it's 28.5%, and over 90, 19%. And this is the thing I love about it. So when you look at it, the over 60 at 90%, on the flip side, you don't have to be a genius to work this out, but it's like under 60 points. He's only doing that 9.5% of the time. So like pretty much 1 in 10 games, you're like, that was a crap score. Every other time you're like, yep. Beauty.
Well, 1 in 10 games, when you think about it, that's only 2.5 times in a season.
Yeah. And every other time he's done his job for you and you're happy. He's probably he's not at a price where he's going to make any money. There's not necessarily great value there. But I just think at the start of the season when you're trying to pick these guys, you want him to score tries, whatever. You don't need him to score the tries. He's not necessarily going to go the tons, but he's got the 70s, he's got the 80s in him.
I think early 60s, on you can't really rely on your you need to rely on your 700k plus back rowers to be scoring well, because if they score like a 30 to 45, then that just puts your whole side out of whack and puts you behind on the back foot early on. And I think, especially early on in the season when captain choices are really hard to pick, I think it's a great one.
Yeah, so I'm feeling pretty good about it, but then I'm sort of tossing up because I do also like the next guy on the list. So, it's probably either Isaiah Yeo or the next bloke.
Who is the next bloke?
The next bloke on the list is Eli Katoa. Very much like him. I remember last year I was very hot on wanting to start with him pre-season, but didn't because we just chucked in a lot of the middies. And then I remember you picking him up before I did, which really pissed me off at the time.
You talked about him all preseason. We even put up a clip early in preseason, and everyone was kind of like, "Oh, yeah, I see it," but probably because he was like 550k or something.
Yeah,
maybe 640,
maybe a little bit more, maybe
640 potentially, but. It wasn't necessarily out there pick, but it just wasn't something.
The back end of the year prior in 2023, he was going pretty good. And I thought that we'd seen enough there that he's just going to have a big year. And from all reports, he's training the house down through the roof. So from that point of view, I'm really big on him. And another thing too, he's got para round 1. And I know it's only one game. He's got the bye round 2. But in the first game, you could really nail it because he's got para. And when he played para last year, he had him in round 11 and round 9, but he scored 108 and 90 against them. So I thought, even if he doesn't score a try in that, maybe, but there's still, I don't know, I just like that. And I think he's the guy in it. They're a red hot side, and I don't think too much is going to change from the quality of their footy. I think they're going to just continue from where they were last year, and they're still going to be more ruthless, you know what I mean, because they lost the grand final. So, Storm always start well, so really big on him. This one stat I really like on him, over 80 points is 41% of the time. Compare that to Isaiah Yeo, 80% of the time is only 28.5. But then when you're going to over 60%, it's only 68% of the time compared to Isaiah Yeo's 90.5. So you're getting that consistency from Isaiah Yeo, but then there's that upside. There will be games where Eli Katoa will pump out low ones, so the under 60 points is 32%.
But I guess that's kind of what it's kind of how you want to play it. So with Eli Katoa, you're buying him one, he could be a potential captain option with upside. Probably not most of the time, but if you're buying Eli Katoa early, then you want his draw to be good early. The reason I've never captained him, I'd rather just go for that, May, who's got will get you that 70, is a guarantee sort of thing. Yeah. Or if you're going for someone who's got a bit of upside in him like Eli Katoa, then you're going to chase an upside, you go fullback. Yep. So, but I'm really big on him still, and I don't know, just one of my bigger decisions, I think, for the pre-season, because it sort of forms what mentality I think I'm going with. Yep. I don't mind the Isaiah Yeo one, because I think I can still chase my upside elsewhere, right? Exactly. That's what I like. And I think second row, the upside, you chase upside, but the upside for the best second row is not that rewarding. Not that high. Yep. So, I kind of like it. 12 tries, 4 try assists last year. For me, it's all about Jerome Hughes and how he goes. I think he's a massive one. The bye round 2 puts me off a little bit. I think a lot of people starting with Tino. You can do it if you start with Tino, you bench Tino round 2 for Eli Katoa, but I think you've got to maximise your opportunities early. We're looking for all this value early on. If he kills it early, he's not going to make any money, really. Goes into Panthers round 3. He scored okay against them last year, 66 when
and 86.
I sat him. Next guy is Hudson Young, 685,000. I nearly just flicked past Hudson Young because I feel like he is what he is.
So did I, but I was so shocked that he averaged 70 last year. I was pretty spun out that he's so high up on the list. I know he's 70. Decent.
I've got a stat for you. More tons last year than Angus Crichton.
Right, no, that shocks me.
More tons than Eli Katoa. More tons than Isaiah Yeo. Yeah. More tons than Hamole Olakau'atu. More tons than Dave Fafita. More tons than Britton Nikorima. I haven't fact-checked whether he's the number 1 for tons for the year, but he scored 6 tons last year.
So for second rowers, it probably would be.
Yeah.
Because Fafita didn't have that.
Well, it would have been Angus Crichton if it was anyone.
Yeah, for sure. So that's pretty crazy, hey?
And I think, like I did say before, with someone like Hudson Young compared to Angus Crichton, in a bad side, like he's got them upside games, but just hasn't got the consistency for it. But if he's scoring that many tons a year, it evens itself out eventually.
Those tons were spread out across the year too.
Yeah.
When I looked at them, they weren't just like in a chunk, like in a bunch of running games or like anything like that. It was so spread out evenly. So yeah, only 50% of his scores are over 60 though. So you let down, like for those 5 big tons or whatever, you are sort of copping some average ones, and I guess that's why he's getting those tons that are balancing it out and bringing it back. And I just don't know for those 5 tons that it is necessarily worth it. And they seem like they're going to have a bit of a shift in their halves as well this year. Like Ethan Sanders might be going there and pushing Strange
to the centre.
Yeah, so that's another factor too. But he's such a try scorer.
I do like Strange with Hudson Young. I think Strange does very well to straighten up.
Yeah.
And put his second row into line. I am corrected. He did score 5 tons.
Yeah, I've got that here too.
Yeah,
but I was starting to think I'm wrong, so I didn't want to.
Yeah, no. But there was a stretch of games. He scored 120 and 104 New Zealand and South Sydney in round 20 and 21. But like 114 at Magic Round, which was nice. And then 101 in round 6 versus the Gold Coast. And then he's pretty sure he turned up in his last week versus St. George. So, he's not turning up against the top tier sides, but
he's scoring very regularly though. Like because I've got him here for last year, 10 tries, which is 45% of like he's played 22 games. Year prior, 9 tries in 23 games, 39% not as good. But 2022, 13 tries across 22 games, which is 59% of the time. So you more often than not, he's over those 2 years, or for the most part, he's scoring every second week.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just kind of
we're talking him up. Would you consider starting with him?
No, only because I prefer Eli Katoa and I prefer the side that he's into and the certainty around all of that. But my boss is starting with Hudson Young.
Oh,
might change that up, but who knows?
I don't mind it. I just think, like, if I looked at them stats and he was 550k, I'd be more interested. I still probably wouldn't do it, to be honest.
Oh, there'd be a lot of value for 550k.
Yeah, but
sure.
I don't know if I'd still do it. Just like it's such a position.
Because then you could compare him. That's pretty close priced as Papali'i, and he might seem like he's got more upside.
True.
He could go to Parramatta. We'll get to him, but yeah.
Yeah. Britt Nikorima, 682,000. Obviously finished the year massive last year. Only had 2 tons
for the season.
Yep, 2 tons for the season.
Yep. Around 15, around 27. No big tons though.
Yeah. Penrith, Cowboys, Rabbitohs, Bulldogs, Raiders, Manly. So he's got a pretty good draw early on. I think with Nikorima, just my gut feel says he starts pretty slow.
We did last year. Round 1 to round 14, he averaged 55 points in that period. And so round 15 to round 27, that jumped to 82.5. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's like 27 points or something, I think. He had 5 tries in that back chunk of the year. In the first part, he only had the 1. So I think he is that type of guy that you get on when he's got the hot touch and he's just going for those mad, like, hole-running lines. He finds himself down on the wing. All of a sudden, they throw a cut-out ball and he's running fast as the wingers. Like, he's got some mad attack in him. But I think you just wait for it and just wait and see. Bit of a yo-yo. So only... only 73%, like 50, like only 73% of the time over 50. I'll do the 60 one. I've got the 60 as well, like only 54% over 60, but 73% of the time over 50.
73% over 50 fits your agenda better.
But they both sound, they're not great, I don't think. But yeah, that sounds even a bit yucky. But that was just put it down to a really slow start as well. Does he start slow again? I don't know.
Hamole Olakau'atu. I am starting with Hamole at the moment, and I feel like he's the kind of guy I'm willing to cut to make 150k if I'm going down to like a Tino or something. But the first 5 of his first 7 games are at home. And he plays the Cowboys, the Warriors, the Raiders, Parramatta, Melbourne, and then Cronulla. His averages against these clubs are pretty crazy first up. So against the Cowboys, he averages 70. Against the Warriors, he averages 59. Against the Canberra, he averages 62. 50 against Parramatta, 53 against Melbourne, and then Cronulla 66. It doesn't sound that good. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of value there, but it's more so playing at home. That the home games 5 out of the first 7.
Well, shitting on Nikorima before for his 2 tons. Hamole only had 1 ton last year in 19 games. So he does seem pretty consistent, though, for 60s, 70s a lot of the time. And sometimes he gets that without having to get the tries. Like, he's just... They hit him a lot close to the line, even when he's not scoring.
He just gets like 4 tackle busts every 2 of his runs he has. So... yeah, I like him, but like I see the concern around his scoring and his upside. Like his upside probably...
He's priced a bit nicer than the others. Like the others are like sort of 650-ish. He's like about 100k less, sort of.
They're 750. He's 665.
Yeah, 9k less.
Which I like.
It's a big chunk.
But then again, you've got Tino, who you could probably rely on maybe 50 to 55, or 55 early on at least.
Yeah.
Whereas like Hamole, he probably needs to get 70 early on to like keep his
at
value.
The price point, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I guess in 2024, he was a 60-60 gun, scoring 60 over 63% of the time. 43 in base, which I was very surprised at. I thought 43 was a solid number. Like, it's not perfect, but like that's before all these tackle busts and offloads and all that.
Yeah.
So you
minus the power. I get so confused between the base and the base first power, which there was just one.
Yeah,
I get so
and
confused.
there's like a Vade as well now too.
Oh, I don't know what a Vade is.
Yeah, neither do I. Someone reach out, please.
The evade is evading us. So one thing I thought was interesting just to look at is that last year he was very stop-starty within his season. He missed like rounds 9 and 10, then he missed round 13 through Origin, then he missed rounds 17 to 16, and then rounds 21. Like there was lots of chunks he was missing. He never really got to get a roll on for a long part of a chunk of a season. So I don't know whether maybe if with a season with less interruptions and less... Well, you know, maybe some of them might have been injuries, suspensions, Origin, and not so much injuries. But I don't know. I just think maybe if he gets more of a run on, maybe you could find more upside in him. Maybe.
Yep.
But yeah, I feel like I'm more into the other guys, but I don't think he's a bad option. I feel like he's one of those guys where you could go for 90k less, ends up scoring a bloody tries early, and then you're doing better and you've saved money. So it's one of your sort of plays.
I guess that's it. I think he's probably more of a chance to score a try early on than, you know, like at least in the first 2 rounds. If you get Eli Katoa, then Eli Katoa's only playing one game, whereas like Hamole has, like, there's a good chance he scores a try in one or both of them games. So I like that. We talked about Mitch Barnett last week, so we won't touch on him. Jermaine Hopgood, number 9. I've seen a lot of interest for him and like looking into it.
Pretty interested too over here.
Yeah, me too. I guess we're looking at cut price options in Hamole. I think Jermaine Hopgood is just as good. I just think the fact that he is a middle, that's where I'm slightly concerned. Does he, like with a new coach, what do his minutes look like? I guess I know he's a big minute middle, and that's what his role was and where he did well for Parramatta.
Yeah.
He's priced at a 67. You take away the last game, and he averaged 70. Games over 65 minutes where, you know, we probably assume he plays 65 to 70. He averages 79. So that's a 12-point bump in what he is. New coach, hopefully he's fit and hopefully he kicks on. And, you know, he still hasn't, like, in his first full year at Parramatta was his breakout year, but there's always
the second year syndrome, which was a little bit of that last year. But in saying that, he missed the back end of last year. I think from round 14 he had a back injury. He had just 1 ton last year, which was in round 2 against the Panthers. So early on ton, which is nice to note. Then I've just gone back to his big year, obviously 2023, when he burst onto the scene for Para. At lock, he was averaging 78. He averaged that year 73, but when he was playing specifically at lock and take away maybe bench or whatever other place
Yeah.
he chucked him there, he's going to be at lock this year for the most part. And he had 5 tons in that year, which is massive. Like, I'm looking for that guy like Isaiah Yeo that has that base and that consistency, which is what this guy has. But he's also got that upside that can maybe go to that next level. He's got that offload that's just through the roof. Like, he was off his head that first year. And if he's fully fit now, he's had a lot of time to recover from that round 14. I don't know what state he's in, but round 1, 2023, 100 versus the Storm. Round 2, 122 versus the Sharks. Then I won't go through all the other rounds because it gets confusing, but then he had another 109, 105 and 104 through the season. I think if I get some good reports that he's nice and good to go, if I can't have both, maybe, and I can't afford, he could be a sacrifice that I take instead of Isaiah Yeo, possibly. Like, but I'm very, very hot. I just don't know how I'm going to make it work.
He's like a flary Isaiah Yeo, like with an offload. Like his potential is the number 1 second row forward in the game. I think we need reports he's healthy because his back injury was an issue last year. And I think I had some people message me that know within the club that, you know, it still lingered in the preseason a little bit.
I don't know much about backs except the fact that backs, for the most part, just always linger around. If you do your back, anyone's like, oh, done my back.
Yeah.
It's like something creeps up forever. But he's probably got the best physio and stuff to sort that out, hopefully, because he's a gun and I want him to do good.
100% agree. Jaden Sewer, for 656K. He had a resurgent year last year, and Ben Hunt is gone. Ben Hunt makes his second round look massive, and we're not talking about it today, but the person he's going to play next to this year, I'm very keen on. So, Jaden Sewer, I think we're happy to put a line through him.
We don't have to talk too much about him, I think his average was way up, 67 last year compared to previous years of 57, 52 and 48. So unless he's really up at that standard, I don't think he's going to jump up a level. He's not the guy to start with.
100% agree. Pat Carrigan, 642,000. Now we're talking about a Yo who we're looking for this consistency for. Pat Carrigan is 100K cheaper. New coach in Madge, so I guess we see an uptick in like enthusiasm at least from the side.
Enthusiasm can be a great influence. Yeah.
Yeah. His base was 56 last year, which you're pretty much going to get that from him. You get a little bit of power in his stats, like he might throw an offload or two, or
possibly have 8 at some point.
Have a tackle break, but 642K. If you're getting a 56, are you happy?
I'm not on him. I don't like him for SuperCoach for me this much this year. I think he's always just kind of considerable, but never really the guy.
If he was front row...
Well, I think he's going to be.
Yeah.
So I think Timmy Williams might have put it in his. I can double check that I've got that written down here, but I'm pretty sure he's got, and it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That makes sense with the dynamic.
Well, yeah,
and he's got Kobe Hetherington.
There have been reports that Jensen goes back to the bench because last year when Jensen and, Haas would have a break, Kobe Hetherington come on and like good player and stuff, but the drop off is massive. Like if you break them two up, like Corey Jensen, at least when Corey Jensen comes on, he can.
And you also don't want to really separate Haas and Carrigan too much because they're great with that 1-2 punch as well.
Well, they play massive minutes anyway. It's just that they probably drop off massively when Jensen and Haas are off the field. Like Jensen is a good player, but like. I don't know how much he affects it. I don't know. I think they're more so looking to break it up. So I don't think his role changes that much. Carrigan,
he's going to go through a lot of work and be a beast. But yeah, no tons last year. No scores in the 90. Only 4 scores in the 80s, but they were all in the last 4 rounds.
Yeah. So
for that, not for me.
Jeremiah Nanai, number 12, 619,500. 2 injury-affected games in 2024. He's priced at a 63.3. You take them out, 68.47, which reads well. He scored 13 tries last year and had 6 try assists, which is a massive year. But reports say that he's going to play left now. Does that help him? Luki and Finney Fuiaki had 8 tries all season between them. So there was less ball going down that left edge. I guess we could say Nanai is more of a try scorer than they are. I think
Yeah.
Lukey's a pretty good try scorer, but I think the way Nanai scores
especially
his
off
tries,
kicks, like more so off
Yeah.
kicks. He does get a few of those, like hit the line, but I feel like then 80% of them feel like they're off kicks to me.
do you think being next to Dearden helps or hinders that? Because I think playing next to
Helps.
Dearden helps with the line break tries.
Yeah.
Maybe not the kick tries.
Yeah, no, maybe not the kick tries, but maybe they'll kick from him from the other side, or they'll still find the way to kick
Yeah.
the ball to him. He's like that. He's like good at like Lomax at just timing it perfectly
Yeah.
and finding his way to get there and put his body in the good position. I like him as because he's got the upside as a Supercoach player, but I'm off him just because there are so many low ones that I feel like it outdoes the good times.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm not. I don't think he's someone I'd look at,
He's someone I'm always keen on at some point in the year.
especially because they seem like they're going to maybe take a step backwards. It's my gut feel.
Yeah, 100%.
And
And 13
Cowboys.
tries is a lot. They put on a lot of points last year. So I definitely see them being a little bit of a cutback. Keon Kalong-Matangi at 619,200. I'm keen on him. He hasn't been in any...
You're keen on
I am keen on Keon. If you saw the Instagram post the other day, you would have seen that joke. Price at 63 if he plays middle.
Damn it! Because I don't really go on social media. I thought I was the original one that just made that joke. Is that your joke?
Yeah,
Did you make that joke?
That was in my caption because
Oh,
I put a post on Keon Kalong-Matangi. It's priced at 63. He averaged 75.8 in the middle last year. I guess the thing is, Ewan Aiken's injured pretty early on, so that might shift him to the edge early on. So I think for me, he's a watch. But, with the new coach in Wayne, it's funny. All these new coaches, I see it as a plus for them, but there's surely a side where they have a new coach that it might not be a plus straight away. There might be teething issues.
Yeah,
Mate, not with Wayne in
I
particular.
think just for them because they had so much cultural issues and they were just fucking. I don't know. I just don't think they were mentally there. He's going to change that, and I think mental attitude just fixes a lot.
Yep.
So I think for the most part they'll be better. Maybe they're not going to just come out the as a round one and look like a top 4 side. It might take a while from the season but they're going to be a lot better, I think. Anyway, he kills it when he's a lock. He averaged 85 in the 4 games he played at lock, which probably won't happen. Edge drops back to 56.5, which probably won't. I don't know. It's hard to find. You reckon he'll play in the middle off the bench? Or
I think he was going to start at number 8. But,
okay. Yeah, and then at prop, he's only had 1 game average 50, but it's a very small sample size.
But Ewan Aiken was probably going to play edge, so I think Kalong-Matangi just easily slots back.
And he was going good in the middle too.
But Cameron Murray will also be back in the side, so we don't know what that rotation looks like. We know Wayne historically, it's pretty much 50-30, 40-40 with him.
I think he's good, but I just feel like he's meat and potatoes compared to some of those other ones that are a bit more reliable on that base. I prefer those, say, Yo's, Hopgood sort of.
I think as a front row forward option, he's very attractive.
Oh, he's not dual though, is he?
He's not dual,
no.
Dylan Lucas, 616,000. I'm very keen on Dylan Lucas. He served me well last year. He's priced at 63, but in 80-minute games, he averaged 67. He is available at centre wing, and his base is great, 48. Which is, for someone available in centre wing, we should probably more talk about in the centre wing podcast, but I think 48 is pretty good for a centre wing.
Well, the good thing about him here too is, because he, some of those players that are versatile, you can buy them in a position and then an injury happens and they get put in another position, and then because they're playing in another position, they're not scoring as well. For him, it doesn't really matter. So when he's played 10 games in the back row, he averaged 62. 6 games at centre, he averaged more, 76. So you thought maybe it might drop off, maybe a little bit at centre. Then 4 games from the bench for 59 too. So pretty much whatever his role is, you're going to get a good 60. He's another good, consistent guy. And I guess he does have this potential upside in those games because he does find the try line a fair bit too. I think for me, I'm really like him, but I think I just want to see him go up a notch before jumping on, because there is just a lot of that 60 sort of. It's in that it's not. It's in that little sweet spot that I'd like to see.
Yeah, I think years past where the centre wing second row duel is as attractive as it used to be. Like, for me, I want upside.
Yeah, big time, especially because last year we were all trying to race to get those upside centre wingers there, and there's a lot of them that are pretty good with goal kicking too.
And if I'm spending that much on a centre wing, you're not spending much more to get an absolute gun in that position. Number 16, Cameron Murray. This is the lowest price we've seen him in a while, $610,000. Priced at a 62.4 in 2022 and 2021, he averaged over 70. I think he averaged 69 in one of them seasons, actually. He averaged 63 in 2023, which was heavily injury affected. He's coming into round one with an injury cloud.
Yeah, the notes I sort of dug up sort of said that he might not be playing, so I just didn't look into it any further on him.
It's a wrist injury that happened for the Pacific Championship. I don't know. I think he's going to... I feel like he's going to be... There's going to be a point this year where Cameron Murray is...
Oh, for sure.
Better than he has been in the last 2 years. But I just like starting with him.
Risque.
610,000. If he was fully fit, I'd be all in.
It's a mad price. Because he's got one of those other guys, like a Hopgood sort of guy that can be very, very consistent too. And there's that upside. But yeah, there has been a little bit in and out, hasn't he? Hard to sort of just lock down and
Jacob Preston, number 17, 609,000. I don't know if it was the SC Spy that was very keen on him.
Yeah. I think he said he's going to start with him.
And like when...
We all changed our sides 100 times before.
Yeah, and I think someone else was keen on him, and I'm like, what's this hype about? I looked into it. He's priced at a 62. He was injury affected a couple of times, so without that, 66. And like a lot of these numbers are very similar to each other. Like they're all averaging about 65 plus, around 67. But he's priced at a 62, which is quite low. And he turned up 3 times last year, which like we're talking about these premium guys who turned up heaps, like 5-6 times. He turned up 3 times for a Bulldog side and was pretty injured most of the year.
That's pretty good, yeah.
I guess Tupanua coming into the side worries me.
I don't know.
Like, does he take minutes from him?
Maybe, but maybe they could take minutes off kick out too. I don't know.
Potentially.
He looks super fit though too.
Who?
Kick out.
Doesn't
he? Look. He looks like you chuck him in the centres. Body just looks lean. Not that you would.
Maybe that's
not
what
that
they're
you
doing.
would. Preston, I don't mind him. Hey, I just like the thing I do like about him is I think the Dogs could just keep growing and keep getting better, and he does like finding the try line. But I'm sort of bigger on other guys like Eli Katoa. I think I'd rather pay a bit more. I know it's about 150k more.
For Eli Katoa, yeah.
Yeah, in 80-minute games that Preston played, his average jumps up to 68.5.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just a matter of whether he does get spelled too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because if he does get spelled, and a lot of those tries come late in the back end of the games.
Yeah, 100%. Bo Fermor, 593,000. Foz moved to 70 round 7, missed rounds 11 and 12. Fermor was averaging 53 up until that point, and then he averaged 63.5 for the rest of the season. So there's an uptick with Kieran Foran there. And I guess to start the year last year, he was coming off an ACL injury. So it was expected he would start a bit slower, but 63.5. I think there's upside in him by round 1. I like him, but I think there's just so many options that he's probably not on my radar.
Yeah, he seems to be someone that's always on people's lips, especially pre-season.
The centre wing duel helps.
Yeah, he's not right up my alley. I think he's good. He's got that big chunky body. He does get some decent tries. Yeah, I don't know. He's not for me. Not for me.
Ewan Aiken injured to start the year, 587,000, averaging 50 in pure base last year. So I like that about him. He's a try scorer playing in a side like the Rabbitohs. If you think the Rabbitohs are going to do well, then he'd probably do well. But especially, I think, especially in the preseason, unless they're one of the best guns in the competition playing in a position not fullback, I think you've got to be cautious on injury, if that makes sense. So if a gun fullback is coming into the season with an injury cloud, you're right to be hesitant. But like halfback, I don't think you should worry as much. Maybe certain positions where it doesn't really... I guess it depends what sort of injury it is as well. But I guess with Ewan Aitken, I'm just a bit wary.
Yeah, and he's someone I feel like I just want to see him sort of go well before I jump on, rather than just sort of being a bit ballsy and just... But there's a lot of people that have a big soft side. Like there's people that are just really Ewan Aitken guys, just like they're really thermal guys.
He's a buy-around guy for me, Ewan Aitken. Isaiah Papali'i, 585,000. I've seen a lot of people interested in him. Averaged 70 and 77 in the years, 75 and 77 the years he played alongside Mitchell Moses at Parramatta. He was a gun. I think there's a bit of false security here because he was a gun, but he was available in front row the years he was a gun, and not with all these second row forwards that have high ceilings available. 585,000. There is a world where he plays alongside Cleary on the right.
It did feel like a must-have, though, like kind of in whatever position that year he was so consistent.
Yes, but did you ever have him in second row?
No, I don't think so. But, yeah, I'm just big on him on the fact that he was consistently popping out 78 and 79 those 2 years back-to-back in 21-22 in a Para side that were a bit better, well, a lot better than the Tigers. They were pretty good back then. And he's going to the Panthers now, arguably a lot better. Don't even have to argue about it. But, so I just reckon they might make the most of him and just... He can't be worse. There's got to be value from where he was at the Tigers.
Well, he averaged 55 last year, so I reckon that's the worst you get. And
being that little bit of a tick under 600K, the price looks sweet on paper.
Do you think he plays right alongside Cleary? Like, do you think they move Liam
Martin? No, I imagine
Martin?
him on... It's hard to say.
But, like, could they move Liam Martin next to the rookie 5'8"?
They might. That makes sense to secure, like, for defensively.
Yeah.
But then also, Isaiah Papali'i, he's not part of that Penrith system. Neither is he. As long as they just get a combination together, that's fine too. Why break up Nathan and...
Do you think there's a chance he starts off the bench? Like Paul Alamotti took a while to get blooded
Potentially, yeah, for sure. He may have to do his time, but then again, he is like an international.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think he is a bit of a step above like Garner and Sorensen, so why not just get him in there? I don't know.
I just don't see him as attractive as a lot of people seem to think he is.
Yeah, I think he's going to be from going, not just being in a crap side and going to a better side and that better side making him better. I think his enthusiasm, he's going to a team that's just won 4 grand finals in a row. He's got to prove himself.
He wants to make sure
he needs to fit in there and be like, guys, I wanted one of these too. I want a bit of this.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to go there with a real intent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like him. I'm pretty sure I'll probably start with him.
He does look fit too. Like in past, he looks big and stocky. He looks fit now, so I like it. I like the idea of it, but just like it's not for me at the moment. Number 24, Bryce Cartwright, 560,900. Mitch Moses is key for him. Last year, Papali'i averaged 70 next to Moses, over 70, and went to the Tigers and had a downfall. So was that him going to a shitter club, or was it like Moses in particular? Cardi averaged 67 in 6 games last year with Moses, and he's priced at a 57. So I think Mitch Moses is key. He's got Zach Lomax outside him, or Will Penasini, depending on what side they play. Like that,
flick pass to flick pass. The winger's going to have a real job on his hand, aren't they? Trying to catch those.
Watch out, Sean Russell.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't look into him too deep just because Fox had put up that they reckoned that Madison was going to start ahead of him, which it could go either way. And then, but Timmy Williams' side, he's got Cardi starting, and I was like, yeah, why wouldn't Cardi start? He was a gun last year.
Did you check my predicted side as well as a tiebreaker?
No, yours was old. Yours was prior to fresh information, so. Because of other things that are in fact, I'm just trying to get the ones that are the most freshest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put out a fresh one, I'll keep my eyes all over it. I'll just send me your fresh opinion. You have to put out more content.
I think Cardi plays right edge.
Yeah. And the price could be great.
Yeah,
but he's one that you can maybe just wait and see too.
Yeah, I think so too. I think with Cardi, he's had his resurgence, and I think like that's it. Like he averaged 75 that year, had a good year last year, but yeah, I think we won't get better than what he's priced at, I would say.
Yeah. I think we'll all go to the party at least one more time, though, before it ends.
Let's hope so. It's a fun party. 27, Nat Butcher. I just put him in there because he probably started edge with Victor Radley moving to lock to accommodate Watson going into hooker. 550,000, 11 games off the bench. He's priced at 56. He averaged 66 when playing over 70 minutes, which he most likely will, playing right edge, back row. So there's 10 points value there. If you're a Nat Butcher guy,
there's plenty of them.
And also, just think about Nanai's stats last year. Majority of the year played next to Chad Townsend. Chad Townsend will be playing that side with Nat Butcher. But I think they're different style of players. I think Nat Butcher will more benefit off halves putting him into good ball, whereas Chad Townsend gave Nanai early ball, which was good for Nanai. Don't know if Nat Butcher can utilise that as much. I've got Victor Radley as well. Have you got anyone in between that?
I skipped this as a big chunk to me.
Yeah, me too.
I was kind of like not as interested
I
in
just
the
want to
price.
mention
I think they probably could go all right, but not just going to...
Yeah, I just want to mention it quickly. Victor Radley averaged 61 at number 13 last year. So he'll be heavily relied on in the middle. So I think that's something to watch out for. He's priced at 51. So 6 points value, not as much value as some of these other guys we're talking about, but... I think he's 1 year older.
And one thing he has taken out of his game is getting sent off. I don't know that he even got sent off last year.
I think that's because he did move to the edge, and that was the reason to channel his aggression.
There was also some definite changes made, you know what I mean? Because he was pretty much going out and taking heads off at one point.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, his numbers at number 12 were just as good as number 13, but... I don't know. I guess inexperienced spine. Maybe his ball playing will be relied on a little bit. So I don't hate it. I've got a note for Sean Bloor. Not much upside. I don't love Sean Bloor early on, especially next Munster. I think Munster's just kind of doesn't utilise his second row that much.
Had moments last year where he was really
moments. Good. I think he's a really good talent.
At a price, he was handy at the price that people could have got him for last year, but he's a bit up now, isn't he?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out and absolutely kills it. And if that's the case, I think he's a good enough talent to take a punt on. But I just need to see it early on. Tino went over last week. Kikau. Are you going to talk about Kikau?
I've got Jackson Ford, but we don't want to talk about him.
I've got Kikau, 523,000. Average 53 last year. 61 was his best year. So...
Yeah, I've just got a sad face at the bottom of it because just not many stats.
Yeah, it just
wasn't
doesn't
impressed
look good,
by
does it?
I'd love to have him in my side. Hopefully, he can drop down to when I picked him up in 2021. He dropped to like 400k and was putting out some pretty cruddy scores, and then around the bye period, really picked up and started scoring well. If you can get him at a good price later in the year, it can be fun, especially because they can start to use him pretty well. They were showing at times last year that he was looking all right. But, yeah, sadly, no.
I think he's the biggest casualty for Tupanua coming into the side.
Yeah, I reckon that he could be so much more too. He was so much at the Panthers. I reckon they could use him a lot better.
Yeah. Bateman. I guess moving to the Cowboys. I'm not very keen on him. I just think his style of play relies around him being like the focal point of attack, and his best Supercoach season with Canberra, he was that. And he had that chance last year, and he still only averaged 54.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play unorthodox footy and just do whatever and go on your own little tangent and do a thing, that Tigers is the place to do it. And he didn't really, average dropped off from 72 and 70 when he was at the Raiders down to 61 and 53.5. Yep. So, not for me. He probably could go, maybe if he goes to this club and he's revitalised or whatever, but I just didn't see enough.
Yep. You got a note for Samuel Afanu there, don't you? I've got nothing on him. I'm not keen on him.
Yeah, my note's kind of just like 15 games at second row, he averaged 52, 4 games off the bench, averaged 60. The minutes were always there. Like, he was averaging 70 and 78 minutes, so the minutes were never an issue.
Yep.
I just think that maybe he could step up. He's 1 year on. It was only like 1 year in career. Like the eye test, he looks really, really good, I think. So he's one I'd like to watch throughout the season and potentially see how he goes. Galvin's a year on. I'm not sure which side he plays.
Left.
Yeah, so it'll be
left.
Galvin's. Oh, no, will the Galvin swap now?
Oh, maybe with Luai going to the left.
Galvin, or maybe Lua played that dominant right side.
No, because Galvin's a right footer. Luai's
Make
a left
more
footer.
sense, you reckon?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, maybe Luai.
Yeah, I guess I want to watch the Tigers first. It feels like I'm saying this about a lot of these prices, but I feel like you need one gun and then you need to fill up the rest with.
There's guys that there's obviously a lot more certainty
options,
in that you know what you're going to get out of these players, and other ones that their price seem, there's potentially value. Let's just see how it goes first before we.
I've got Zach Hosking. He is injured, which sucks, but he averaged 84.3 playing more than 55 minutes last year. I think it's more of the same this year. I'd happily jump on him if he became a good price early on, but won't start the season. I think we've got
very SuperCoach friendly game, eh?
Yeah, Matty Nicholson looks like he'll come in, which is good for SuperCoach. Madison and Lane, 509, 508,000.
Lane, I'm off him. I'm off Lane.
I just
turned me off last year.
I guess with the new coach, depends where they play.
Yeah, he was playing a bit more through the middle, and even when he was playing on the with Dilbert, they just weren't really connected, and it wasn't the same as what it has been in the past. And Ryan Madison, maybe I could be just because like at that price of like if he did start sort of thing, because that's what Fox predicted. But now I'm off the idea. I'm just sort of going off what they said.
If you go off Fox, they still predicted bloody Christian Welch should play fullback or something.
Philly Moi in the Parramatta side or something. So back row, 80 games average career, average 66.5. So if he was to be playing in the back row and he was starting, then maybe there's value there, but probably not going to happen.
I hate this price range unless they're an absolute gun. And these guys, a lot of these guys are priced where they probably belong at the moment. And that's pretty much why this team structures are one gun and the rest middies. But I think that's it, unless you got anything else.
That's all, folks.
Yes, that is all for the Second Row Forward podcast, over 500K. Next week, we're going to the value options, mid-range, and cheapy. Very
probably
keen on
more
that one.
We're going to be chucking into our side here.
Yeah, so it'll be much more interest. I think we've dug deep in the barrel here to look for something for you guys. There's definitely a lot of value there for you if you are that sort of guy. Or girl, SuperCoacher. But that's it for the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the Patreon, subscribe to the YouTube, like the YouTube, and subscribe to the audio platforms. And Sportshed TV charity match tickets are on sale now, so head in the link in the bio. I'm playing there on February 16th at Wenty at Ringrose Oval. Thank you, Timmy.
No worries. I'll be there banging on the fence, telling someone to take your head off, or just yelling out some generic sort of football things,
Get him on side?
Yeah, stuff like that.
I like it. All right. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.